So when I say the word engineer, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it someone in a hard hat on a construction site? Or maybe a programmer surrounded by a mountain of empty energy drink cans? Well, today we're going to look past all those cliches and find out what being an engineer is really all about.
That's the big question, right? We're going to break it all down. What they actually do every day, the kinds of places they work, and how their job changes from the moment they start to when they become a real leader in their field.
So, is it just this lonely job of crunching numbers and writing code? Let's find out how that classic stereotype actually holds up against the reality of what modern engineering looks like day to day.
Okay, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to bust some myths. Then, we'll take a look at what an engineer's daily schedule is all about. From there, we'll check out their different workspaces, see how they climb the career ladder, and finish up by talking about that crucial work-life balance. First things first, you got to understand that the word engineer isn't just one job title. It's more like a giant umbrella covering a massive range of different jobs, all of them tackling really unique problems in totally different ways.
And look at this list. It's just a tiny snapshot. Every single one of these fields deals with wildly different challenges. You could have a chemical engineer figuring out how to make a refinery more efficient, while a biomedical engineer is designing a device that's literally going to save lives. The diversity is just huge. So, with all that variety, what's the one thing that connects them all? Well, it's this mix of really deep analytical thinking, creative problem solving, and, this might surprise you, a ton of teamwork. Let's look at a tale of two mornings here. On the left, we've got a mechanical engineer, Lionel Lee, who's diving into project schedules and meeting with clients. On the right, an industrial engineer is crunching production numbers and syncing up with other teams. The projects couldn't be more different. But the core skills? They're identical. You plan, you analyze, and you communicate.
That idea of collaboration is absolutely central in software engineering too. The job is just this constant, high-speed loop. You write some code, but then your teammates immediately review it. You run tests, you hunt for bugs, and then you're right back to collaborating with the product and design folks to figure out what to tackle next. It's a team sport through and through.
And get this, some engineers aren't even building a physical product, they're building safety. A process safety engineer's entire job is to prevent disasters. They run these super intense risk assessments to map out everything that could possibly go wrong in a place like a chemical plant. And then they engineer a way to make sure it never ever happens.
Okay, it's time to bust another myth. The engineer who's chained to a desk all day. The reality is actually a super flexible mix of different environments, all depending on the specific job and what the project needs.
A pretty typical day might look something like this. Yeah, you've got a good chunk of focused desk work for design and analysis, but it's balanced out with meetings, hands-on time in the lab, and for a lot of engineers, getting out and doing critical work on site.
And, for so many engineers, that lab time is the absolute best part of the week. I love this quote from systems engineer Christos Kompuridis. He says, "I spend about 5 to 6 hours a week in the laboratory. We use lasers, ovens, fridges, superheated knives. I like touching things in general, not just looking at a computer all the time." You can just feel the passion there, right?
And then you have the complete other end of the spectrum, the field engineer. For them, the office is, wherever the project is. That means a ton of travel, schedules that are all over the place, and being a master of solving problems on the fly, right in the thick of it with construction crews.
So an engineer's job doesn't just change from day to day. It completely transforms over a whole career. The focus actually shifts from just doing the tasks to defining the entire strategy.
Let me show you what I mean. An entry-level engineer, they might be told to design one little part of a bigger machine. A senior engineer, on the other hand, is the one deciding if the whole company should switch to a brand new material for all its parts, weighing the costs, the performance, everything. They're not just solving the problem, they're deciding which problems are even worth solving.
And this gets to a really powerful point about what it means to be senior. Real experience isn't just about how long you've been on the job. It's about making sure you don't just have 1 year of experience that you've repeated 20 times. True growth, that comes from constantly taking on new and harder challenges.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about the human side of things. This is a field that's famous for high-pressure projects and crazy deadlines. So how do you engineer a life that actually works for you? So while a 40 or 45-hour week is pretty common, the reality is that things like overtime for big projects, travel, and being on call are often part of the deal. To really thrive, it's not about just having more stamina, it's about being smarter in how you design your own time.
If you want to build a career that lasts, you have to be proactive. And this isn't just some generic advice list. This is like an engineer's toolkit for their own life. Setting boundaries on when you're available, that's just like setting tolerances on a design. Using tech to avoid unnecessary travel, that's just optimizing a system. It's all part of building a career that won't lead to burnout. So that old stereotype of the lone genius locked away in a lab? Yeah, it's completely out of date. The reality of engineering today is that it's this dynamic, super collaborative field that's all about solving problems together and constantly growing. When you really think about it, the most complex, most important system any engineer will ever design is their own career. All those same principles, strategy, problem solving, constant improvement, they all apply. So the biggest question isn't just what you're going to build, it's how are you going to engineer your own path?